How many of you remember that TV commercial from, I guess, about the 1980s? I think it had Peter Sellers in it, and playing his Inspector Clouseau role, about a camera, and he goes, the camera that goes beep beep, because it would go beep beep before it took a picture, or if something wasn't right, to alert you. Was it a Nikon, perhaps? Anyway, I have a Sony camera here that goes beep beep. We gotta fix it. Let's check it out. I figured I'd be going through some of my old stuff to see what I can get rid of, because I got a lot of stuff that people have abandoned and left here and so forth. Oh, it's playing Morse code on its own. It's going on and off. Anyway, I figured I'd drag out some cameras, try to get rid of some stuff here, because I got too much stuff, right? So I figured if I've got something I can sell, I'll pass these on to people that want to use them for recording, their tapes. And I grabbed this one and put it on the power pack to check it out. But this thing's not working. You saw it beep, 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 beep there. So I gotta figure out why it's not working. And then I can maybe put this one up on the market and sell it. I think it's probably the switch that's faulty on this. More than likely. Because I just happened to touch it and it started beeping. I think the switch is maybe where the fault is. So let's pop this one apart and see whether I can get this one to work, so that I can at least sell it. As I say, I've got a couple cameras here that I don't need, and I'm never going to need them. So I might as well get rid of them while I can. For someone who's looking for 8mm camera or high 8 camera, this one's an 8mm, but we'll go through this one and give it a once over. I've never worked on this one yet, right? I haven't worked on it yet, so we'll check it out and see if I can make it work. So I'm just going to pop out the screws, take the camera apart, we'll give it the good old once over, and I'll check that power switch out, because I think that's where the fault is. It's just the way it was behaving. When I touched the power switch there initially, it started going on and off on its own. Probably just from all the years of sitting around, the contacts in it have gotten a bit bad. This is an A mechanism, this Handycam, and this would be from, I'm going to say the mid 90s. Does it say 95? Look at that. I wonder if it's got bad caps in it. It's from the era, so it may, but then they may have already been changed, or it may have been past the era of the bad caps. Actually, they affected a lot of stuff in the early 90s, and by the mid 90s a lot of them had fixed the problem. Undo that plug and undo this one. It's got a separate a second telephoto and wide angle button on the front. That would be for if someone had it on a tripod, they could control it. Because you have the hand holding, right? You're going to be doing it with these ones here, right? Second one on the front for if you're using it on a tripod. Alright, this should come apart once I get all the screws out, which I've got another one here to take out. Top. And it should just open up just like that. Now it's got an old battery in it. I don't think this one will have much charge left in it. If anything, it should be completely flat. So we'll just dispose of that, and it is completely flat. Of course, fully expected the clock battery to be no good. These ones do suffer the standard problems that the A mechanism had, which was the standard connections to the main board, the ribbons. Another screw up top here. undo these two edge connectors, or these ribbons, I should say, not edge connectors. Well, ribbons to the edge connector. And that one wherever it went. And there's another one over here. It must have come off from the front. That's for the battery. That wraps around and goes around to the front. That's just for the battery. All right, so this one here, the switches that I think are at fault, they're pin switches, and that's why I think they're at fault, because you know how Sony is with their pin switches. This is the power switch. When you turn the camera on, it goes, one button gets pressed, and when you turn it on the other way, the other button gets pressed. And that is, I'm sure, why it's going on and off, is these little pin switches are not working properly. They get dirty. I think they should lift out. Or do I have to take the whole viewfinder apart? I think this lifts out. It should just pop on out. There we go. All right, now I can unplug this other little plug down here. Or maybe it's easier to undo this one. There. All right, now I can clean these switches because they get, this is the classic problem. These pin switches give us a lot of trouble. Sony used these on their some of their DAT machines for detection switches for the mechanism, and the switches themselves would go bad, and you'd end up with all kinds of intermittent strange problems. So we're going to get some Neutral, give this a shot of Neutral, and we'll work these switches until they're clean, and then I'll do the rest of the service on the camcorder and see whether it's functional, recording and playing, and then I can of course turn around and sell this one, because it's mine. I had this given to me a couple years ago. I've been sitting on this one. So it's time to start to move some of this stuff and get rid of some of the stuff that I don't need. I've got plenty of camcorders for doing archiving work that will play 8mm high 8 and digital 8. So I'll sell off some of these older, lesser cameras to someone who needs one. It's awful quiet in here today. We'll fix that. Make sure that that's plugged in all the way. It looks like it's all the way in. All right, other things that need to be dealt with on a camera like this of this era. Oh, look, an unused circuit board. Extra parts. Extra parts. Look at this. Hello, Sony. Why do you even bother? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose of this? An empty circuit board. You know, it's like, yes, you could actually buy, by the way, if you ordered a circuit board from Sony, I'm kidding you not, but they had a part number for these parts like this, and like if you ordered from Sony, whatever the part number of this one was, is it printed on here? That's not a part number, but if you ordered a board, you got a bare board, and I'm not kidding, right? There was two types of boards available. You could buy an unpopulated board, or you could buy a populated board. I remember one time, well, this is going way back. One of my assistants, he ordered a board for, he didn't work very long, because the guy that I worked for came in and he says, Dave, you've got to fire Clive.
Boss didn't have the balls to fire someone, so he made me do it.
Might have been John. We had this guy working with us who was so stupid. He ordered a board. It was for a camera. I think it was for a camera. He ordered a board, and he ordered the part number for the board, not the assembly. And we waited weeks, and this board arrived from Japan, and it was a full board. Like, it was a full circuit board, and it had no chips on it. It was just completely empty. It's like, what? What do you expect us to build our own? We got a good laugh out of it, but the boss didn't get a good laugh out of it because what they charged for the blank board was actually quite expensive. It would make you wonder, why would they even sell them? But they did sell blank boards, and you're probably wondering, why is this one in here? Well, because they probably made the run of boards for cameras that were high 8 as well as regular 8mm at the same time, and this board would have been a board used in a high 8 camera. As you can see, there's other missing chips on here too for different models, that there's nothing populated. Looks like this one here could have had 2 different chips. There's 2 different series of pads on here, one for a smaller chip, one for a larger chip. But anyway, that's what this is. This is just an extra part that doesn't need to go back in. Maybe they've left it in there for, maybe it's shielding. Maybe they figured the shielding effect of this, or they just didn't want to dispose of the waste. That's more than likely. When the boards were all punched out, this would have come off of one etching, and then all the different boards get cut out of that, and this is one that never got populated because it wasn't used. The bracket's already there because they would have used the same bracket for all of them, even though the bracket's not necessary. It doesn't do anything, I don't think. Does it hold the board in place? Because it does. It supports the board. But anyway, it's on there. It's not. I'm not putting it in there. It's just ridiculous. It's unnecessary. But what is necessary is I need to do the connectors on here because they go bad on all of these cameras. So while I've got it apart fixing the power switch, I might as well do the known issues on here, namely this connector right here. This one goes bad. Let's unplug it and plug it back in again. That's all you basically need to do, is just unplug it and plug her back in. Actually, I gotta unplug it because I gotta undo the board, because the other one's here and I gotta take out this one here. So we're gonna undo the plug and undo that connector there, and we're going to undo this plug on the loading motor, and I'm going to remove this board because there are plugs that plug into the chassis, and these connectors go bad on these as well. So once I've done that, I can just undo this and pop this right out. Just like that. And I could do this one here on the motor as well. Just move this back and forth a bit. There. These are common problems on these plugs here, where they plug into the different connectors on the board here. They plug into connectors here on the board. It looks like this one's been serviced before. It's got grease on it. It's got grease on it, so that looks like that's been done before at some point. But anyway, it's done again now. Well, I didn't put grease on it, but I took it. You get the idea. I took it apart just to reseat the connectors. On the B mechanism, we had the all those other flat ribbon cables that had to be disconnected. On this one here, just the one board, and of course this one here, and this one here we need to do on the front here as well. We'll just undo this plug. Take that one out and put it back in. Redo that plug. Plug this back into the video head. And plug it in here. Shield back on. There we go. Okay, I guess I can start to throw this thing back together. And then I can test it and see whether it works and see if I have a winner that I can sell for hundreds of dollars. I wish. These things generally don't go for more than about $100 these days. Even when they're fully serviced. But we'll see how the caps are on this one, and whether they're bad or not. They shouldn't be bad. I think this one was made after the cap plague problem. But it could be. But I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that this one was probably made after the problem was solved. Because by '95 we were seeing tons and tons of cameras that had bad caps. Like lots and lots of Sonys and Canons. They were well aware of the problem by the time this one was made, and I'm sure this has gotten the more modern versions in that didn't have the issue. And I love all the stories around what happened, why it happened. And I don't know how much truth there is to it, but there's probably a fair bit of truth behind the espionage. And that was an employee from one company left his employment that made capacitors and went to work for the competition and stole the formula that was used to make the electrolytic. And he got the recipe wrong. That's the rumors, anyway, that I was hearing back in the 90s from the manufacturers, is that someone left one of the companies and went to another company and didn't get the formula quite right, and millions upon millions of caps were made that were out of spec, to say the least. I gotta get the power for this unit and we'll test it out. Turn it to camera for starters. Turn on the power. Do I get a picture? I have a picture on the monitor. So we know the camera works. It's got a good picture. We'll try it for playback and then I'll try making a quick recording. Looks like I have to clean the brightness control on the monitor. We'll do that as well, but let's just see whether it first of all plays the tape. Then I'll deal with the control on here. Okay, I don't have a picture. What's going on? Why don't I have a picture? It has still got a problem. Well, I guess I have to investigate more. This is not playing back. I think it's probably right here. It's not plugged. It was not plugged in properly. We'll just make sure that this is seated correctly. Alright, now it's plugged in. I'll throw the shield back on again. I do have to plug these cables in, otherwise it's not going to turn on. Really? Really? Unplug yourself? That's a little better. Okay. Whew. And there it is playing. Looking great. Okay, next thing I'm going to work on is the viewfinder. Got to clean up that control. I'll put the camera together because I don't need to have the rest of it apart to do this. I can clean that control from the other side. So we'll throw the use get it back together. They're playing a little soul stew on the radio now. The camera's back together. I just need to deal with the bad control on the LCD screen, because, you know, if I try to sell it, someone touches that, they're going to say, hey, it's got a problem. So we're going to pop the LCD cover off and get that controller shot of cleaner. I think it'll just, the back should pop off right. I probably could just give it a shot in through here. And that might be what I end up doing if this back cover doesn't come off easy as I thought it would. Because the control is right there. Might just do that. Just give this thing a shot of cleaner right through the control here. And then clean it up after. Because that should stop this control from being dirty. There we go, that's a little better. Yeah, that's a lot better. There we go, that's got that problem solved. Didn't even have to take it apart, although I did get neutral all over my fingers. We all know how much that stuff stinks. It smells like an oil refinery. It's got diesel in it. At least this stuff that I've got here does. It's the original formula of neutral when it actually was a good cleaner. All right. We'll do a test on this. I have a brand new high test tape. It's the first time I've used it. This tape's never been recorded on. And we're recording. We'll do a little test here for a couple minutes, make sure everything works. So we'll try the zoom in. And the zoom out, and we'll try the zoom controls on the front. There's another set of buttons on the front to zoom in. You see, I'm not touching the buttons on the camera. I'm touching the buttons on the front here. Zoom out, zoom in. What happens if you zoom out and zoom in at the same time? And this is like a 2-speed zoom. Press it one and press it again for faster. Slow and fast. If I'm zooming out and I press the button, it stops. If I press it all the way down, then it zooms in. See, now it stopped. Now it starts zooming out again. So it counteracts the slow speed only, but not the fast speed. Alright, so we'll play this back. I'll plug it into the monitor. Try not to get feedback. Well, I will if I put the speakers on now, I'm sure. But I'll make sure that there is sound. I hear sound. Okay, let's play this tape back. Stop. We'll rewind it. And we're recording. We'll do a little test here for a couple minutes, make sure everything works. So we'll try to zoom in. If I bump the camera, it can create time-based errors. Zoom out, and we'll try the zoom controls on the front. There's another set of buttons on the front to zoom in. You see, I'm not touching the buttons on the camera. I'm touching the buttons on the front here. Where's my volume on here? What happens if you zoom out and zoom in at the same time? Well, I guess that one takes precedence. And this is like a 2-speed zoom. Press it one and press it again for faster. Slow, fast. If I'm zooming out and I press the button, it stops. If I press it all the way down, then it zooms in. See, now it's stopped. Now it starts
volume control in the back.
So it counteracts the slow speed only, not the fast speed. Alright, so on the back of the camera, of course, there's a volume control at the back here. A real control. None of these buttons to go up and down like the more modern ones. That's just got a good size speaker. It's got a good size speaker for a camera. Wow. I mean, this was at the time when this was new. This was probably a relatively expensive camera for a regular 8mm non-high 8. This was, I'm sure this was a few dollars when it was new. Anyway, it's good as new now. CCDTRV30 is back up and running and going to go up for sale. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.